Hey guys, it's Prometheum5 here, coming at you with another CollectionDX video review of some third-party Transformer action. Today we're going to be looking at Toy World's latest release, TW-H01 Hardbone, which is the first release in their, I think, series of updates to the G1 Headmasters toys. This is Hardbone. He's obviously very heavily inspired by the original G1 Autobot Headmaster, Hardhead, who turned into an awesome green tank with 4 independent tread units and a big gun, and was green and awesome. Hardhead is definitely my favorite of the original Headmasters. He's just a really fun, kind of weirdly constructed toy. He's not super solid. There are a couple points to watch out for on the old Hardhead toy, but there's none of that on Hardbone. There's a couple little things we'll talk about that aren't perfect, but I think this toy is awesome. So we're going to get right to it. Obviously, very G1 inspired tank mode with the 4 tread units. And, oops, sorry about that. There's some tabs and stuff to kind of lock the treads in place, but I wish there were a little bit more going on, because these kind of just, flopping all around if you grab them funny. But you can get him with all 4 treads flat on the ground, and he rolls around. He's got wheels on the bottom, so that's that was something that I dinged Mech Ideas update to the jump starters for, because they didn't have any wheels on the bottom of the treads and you couldn't roll your tank mode around, and that just is sad. So Hardbone, sorry, terrible name. Hardbone doesn't have any of that problem. He can roll around. He's got wheels. He's got these big chunky rollers too that are they most remind me of the Tank War release from Beast Machines had, I think, some big rollers on the bottom. That was kind of a cool tank figure. That was probably somewhat inspired by Hardhead. I think I have that somewhere. That's a neat figure, but that's neither here nor there. Hardbone is cool. There's a couple little things I don't like with the tank mode. I'm just going to take the gun off for a second to talk about the biggest issue I have with the toy. There's these yellow, it's kind of tough to make out in the video, but I took some close-ups in the text and photo review. There's some tabs on the side of the body here that are supposed to, you can see it there. There's some tabs here that are supposed to lock into slots on the sides of the back tread unit to kind of hold them in place, but the tabs are a little too long, so the way they're designed, the tread doesn't quite sit straight. It's kind of tough to see in the video, but you end up with a little bit of a bow to the way the tread sits. I actually accidentally, while I was shooting the photos, I dropped my Hardbone and broke the tip off of the tab on the other side, which made it a little bit shorter, and now the tread actually sits more in the right place. It sits more parallel to the bottom front tread unit, which I think looks better. I think, if you pick up a Hardbone, you might want to look at trimming the tips of those. I wouldn't necessarily recommend throwing it on the floor to fix it, but you might just want to take a little tip off. There's actually another issue with those tabs that I found for robot mode. They're supposed to fold down flush against the torso so they're not in the way under his armpits, but they were actually assembled backwards on mine. I haven't looked to see if other people have had that problem, but the problem is the peg for the tab is offset from the tab, so it only sits flush. That's not helping. It only sits flush one way, and they were in backwards. So I had to take the whole torso apart. It was only a couple screws, and there was nothing too hard about it, but just, kind of annoying, but I'll live. Getting the gun on is kind of tough. The fit on the peg is really quite tight, and it has a hinge here so it can pose, so it's kind of fighting you while you're doing that, but I'll just go ahead and get the gun back on. And there's actually an alternate mode for the tank that isn't in the directions, but on the side of the tread units, there's actually a second, I'm not sure if you can see it in here, there's a second tab on here, or a second slot that goes into the tab, so you can actually mount the tread units at an angle, and then just pose the front treads forward a whisker, because they're just on the joints that become the hips, and you can do kind of a crawler mode with the treads up. It actually looks pretty cool. I like it a lot. It, you know, kind of different, but it almost looks like it would work. And you can, you know, pose the guns a little differently if you wanted. And, you know, not anything to write home about, but a nice little feature that I don't think I've seen too many people mention. But it's cool, you know. He can't roll like this, but he does look kind of neat. You can see him kind of scooting around in crawler mode and blowing stuff up with that huge gun. So that's cool. Now we're going to talk about the most important part for a Headmaster update, the Headmaster figure. So it has an opening cockpit, as is required by law for all updated Headmaster toys. And we can remove the actual Headmaster from his cockpit here. This is, if you go by the American canon for the Headmasters, this is Duros, a Nebulon warrior who ended up using Hardhead's head as a suit of armor to keep himself alive. And that's all really terrible, so I don't subscribe to that. I like the, he's kind of tough to stand. You could use a little more heel spur on the back, but I like the Japanese idea better, where the bodies are basically transforming suits of armor and the little heads are actually the character. So that makes this guy Hardbone and this his Transector, which transforms, which is cool. That doesn't matter, but the head is pretty posable. He's got ball joints for the shoulders, hips, and knees. The joints are a little loose, but he doesn't, they're not saggy at all. He just kind of fiddly to get to stand just because he's so small. But he can stand him. He can do a running pose, and he can sit in the cockpit, and he can kind of loaf around the tank mode. And it looks good doing it, you know. A lot of sculpted detail, a lot of actually some paint and stuff on there. The only thing he does not do that the old G1 Headmasters do was that he doesn't have any flap on the back to cover the face of the big robot mode. So Hardbone's face is just kind of hanging out there on the back of the little guy. But that's fine. I mean, you're not going to look at him from the back too much anyway. But he's nice, and he actually has tabs and stuff on here. He is sized to fit. He's compatible with a G1 Headmaster toy. I took a bunch of photos of all sorts of incestuous combinations of different Headmasters toys combining in the text and photo review. So check that out. Worth noting is that Fans Project recently released X01 Code as the first release in their function line of updates to the Headmaster designs. And they started with an update to Chrome Dome. And their figures are a little bit smaller. So while you can put the head from Code on Hardbone or any other G1 Headmaster, you can't put an original G1 head or Hardbones on Fans Project's Code body. I think that sucks. I didn't do a video for Code. I actually didn't really like Code all that much, and I couldn't really put my finger on why. He's kind of just bland. I think that's a big part of it, though. I mean, he's not compatible with all the different heads that already exist, and that's super lame. So I'm really glad that Toy World did make that, make their figure compatible. Like I said, I took a whole bunch of photos of different kinds of heads and stuff in the photo review, so check that out. So we're going to transform this guy now, and he's awesome. There's one other little quality control issue that I'll talk about when I get to the robot mode, but other than a couple, little stupid things, this guy is really nice. The plastic feels really good. The transformation is pretty smart, and as you'll see in a minute, when we get to robot mode, this guy is the best. Really, really chunky and badass robot mode. So he's got these flaps here for the tracks that unfold, and we can, like I said, I mean, I'm pretty heavy-handed with my figures, and I don't feel like I'm going to damage anything on this guy. For the knees, actually, because the treads fold up to go in there, but they actually have it so that the track ends up kind of covering the gap in behind the knee, which I think is really clever for some reason. It's, stupid little detail, but it kind of seems like Toy World was paying attention with all this design stuff. I mean, I said I really liked Grind Rod and Aurora from them, and I think Hardbone is even better. So this stuff all snaps together really securely. You can pull his toes out. You can fold his feet back. There's one thing that I mentioned in the full review with the feet that's kind of odd. He's got these big rollers on the back, and for the default robot mode, you're supposed to fold them back out of the way, and then there's a flat surface here to stand. But if you do that, it kind of leans back a little bit, and I actually found him to be kind of back heavy like this. So what I do instead is I fold the rollers down and use them for more heel support. And it kind of gives them like a brutish dog type look with, his jet roller wheels or something inside. It just seems like a little oversight that they don't stand quite right normally, but I think he looks cooler with the rollers deployed anyway, so I probably would have done that regardless. Arms and stuff all pull out. The hands are a little tough to get out just because there's not a lot to grab onto, so you really need like a good fingernail or something to get them started. You just get your finger under the thumb and they come right out. A lot of nice detail on all this stuff too. The treads fold around there. So here's the one other issue that I have. As you can see, on this side, the rollers for the track units are supposed to be painted gray, and on mine, they forgot one side. That side's all black, and it's funny because when you turn it around for robot mode, this side is actually painted. So I guess they just missed an operation at the factory. I'll probably just fix it myself, but it was kind of annoying that they missed that. I wouldn't return the figure over that or anything. I think the rest of it more than makes up for it. But like I said, I mean, I haven't seen anybody else with that issue either, but just something to be aware of. All right, so here we have the transformed head and the transformed body. He doesn't really fit in the frame there. I'm just going to adjust this for a second, try not to get nauseous while I do this. All right, so there we go. That is the transector and everything. So, like I said, the head is actually designed to accommodate a head with the tab on the bottom where the tech spec slots would go. So he can fit normal G1 heads, and I think that's cool. His chest actually does open up to reveal some kind of, nicely painted engine type detail in there, like a spark chamber or something. It doesn't open up or anything to reveal more than just that, but nice little detail. This guy is awesome. I really like the look of him, and he feels really good. He's got really good articulation. Basically everything clicks, which is fantastic because he will never sag or tip over. And just really chunky, green like I like, and totally badass. The head's a little annoying because it doesn't really tab together, so when you're trying to turn the head to do poses, you tend to kind of knock the legs and stuff out of alignment. So that's kind of annoying, but again, I'm willing to forgive it. I like what I like about this toy enough to overlook kind of a lot on the kind of QC department, which this probably says more about me than anything, but I like Hardhead and I like this guy, so I don't care. He has two, so like I said, I mean, everything's posable. He looks really clean. He has two weapon pods in his legs that open up that reveal a little thing that pops out and flies away. A little barrel scope type piece that we'll talk about in a second. And on the other side is a combat knife, which is fantastic. Got a really nice little sculpt to the knife that is sharp and serrated on the one side. And it's not real sharp, but I mean, it looks pretty good. And it goes right in the hands there. And you can have, Commando Hardbone all sneaking through the jungle, armed only with his trusty knife, roller dashing around. And it looks good. I I love this figure. This figure is really fun. The knife looks good. You can do all sorts of cool stuff with it. Kind of snug in there. And you can, you know, stick it on the back of the hand in a way that no one has ever actually held a knife in combat, but always looks cool on toys and anime. And have them all sneaking around doing some solid stake style CQC for close quarters combat. And then he has, obviously, his big shoulder gun. The counterweight on the back of the gun actually slides up for robot mode to just kind of differentiate it. This big clear orange barrel piece comes off, and he actually has this whole kind of reconfigurable weapon gimmick going on that I really like. He's got two of the same kind of big chunky rifle that mimic the look of the G1 Toys rifles. They have pegs and stuff so they could go on the arms like an arm gun due to how they attach for the vehicle mode, I guess, if you want to do arm guns. And then they have all sorts of little slots and tabs on them. You can put the orange barrel piece on and make kind of a big, you know, charged up shotgun looking thing. The little scope piece that came out of the other leg pod can be hooked into the barrel like a big suppressor for like a more ranged rifle type thing. Just all sorts of little fun stuff. The coolest, I think, is the fact that the knife can be hooked on the slot underneath as a bayonet. So you can have, you know, your tricked out, powered up shotgun with a knife on the bottom and your big scoped, suppressored sniper type rifle. Or you can actually take this barrel piece and stick it in a slot on the back of the shoulder mounted gun as a scope for that. I like it up there. I think it complements the thing there, and I do like having one kind of vanilla gun on him. So, you know, he has two big freaking guns that you can configure how you like, and he's got clicky joints, and he's green and chunky, and this guy's awesome. Really fun. And he just, you know, he's armed to bear, you know, ready to kick some Decepticon or third-party Decepticon, but really fun. Toy World did a really nice job on this guy, and I'm glad that Hardhead got the update he deserves. Like I said, he's my favorite of the G1 Headmasters, so if this toy had been a dud, I would have been pretty upset. Harbone sells for $100 online, and I think that is more than fair. There's a lot of toy here. You know, like I said, compared with a Glyos figure, pretty big. A hair larger than the original toy, actually, and much thicker and more chunky. So that's fantastic. Like I said, I mean, you know, $100. One or two things to look out for that are probably just isolated to mine, but you know, check around and see if anybody else has had that problem. And if they have, then maybe there's reason to be more upset. But they're probably just, you know, minor issues to mine that either I could fix or I could talk to who I bought it from and see if I can get them fixed. But I'm not sweating them. Like I said, I mean, I really like this guy. He's cool. He has a really good look to him. You know, big guns and chunky stuff, and he looks good kind of tromping around, and the Headmaster is really nicely done, and the fact that he's compatible with G1 heads is awesome. So, go get one. I want to see Toy World do more like this, so, you know, make sure to support them and show them that if you like what you see here, that you want to see more, because I know that I do. I'm much more excited about Toy World's Headmaster updates than I am about fan projects so far. Compared to Code, this guy is amazing. So if Toy World can keep this up, they're going to make a name for themselves as a pretty premier third-party Transformer designer. So this has been Toy World's TW-H01 Hardbone for CollectionDX. Thanks for watching. I'm Prometheum5. Make sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel, CollectionDX, for more awesome toy reviews. Thanks for watching.